welcome to Yo Valley Organic Garden Festival. I hope that you are already having the most gorgeous time. And I'm hoping that there's some really lovely connections being made. The lady that just came up just said, oh, I came on one of your flower farm workshops, and then I agree with. Anyway, she just happens to be a friend of my, of a friend of a friend of mine. And it was all just, oh, how lovely. How lovely. We are here for lots of reasons, and we're here because lots of people have been amazing. So I'd just like to thank Sarah and Tim Mead, who even thought to put this on and had the idea 2 years ago, and to Rocket Grow, who are sponsoring this particular tent. Somebody just came and said, and who are you? Because I've stood here a lot. And the reason I'm here is a lovely bit of serendipity. So I am a director for Gardener's World. I make television, and I worked for Gardener's World for the last couple of years. And last year, I came here to work with two amazing scientists. I was asked to make a series of films about how clever plants are to pull in pollinators. And Danielle Robert and Heather were just down in the germination station. And so that's why we're here, because while we were here, Sarah said, ooh, I've got this idea. Sorry, there's a lot of, I can hear wind, or why. We've got this idea for an organic garden festival. So it's lovely because now Danielle and Heather and I have all sat in the green room going, oh, isn't it amazing that out of that we should be here? And I'm sure you all have equally gorgeous stories of how you've arrived, and I'm hoping that you're making lots of lovely contacts with each other and finding lots of inspiration from all of the many different gorgeous things and people that are out there in the garden. So, Georgie Newbery obviously probably needs very little introduction to many of you, but she's an RHS judge. She's the founder of Common Farm Flowers. She's a flower farmer, she's a florist, she's a teacher. She's grown her own for 15 years. And there's 2 of her books in the Bookworm bookshop, in case you feel immensely drawn and don't want to write notes the whole time she's talking. We're going to do about half an hour's-ish with Georgie leading and giving you her benefit of her wisdom. And then there will be 15 minutes-ish for questions. So, yeah, hand over. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody. Lovely to see you all. Thank you for coming. So I'm going to talk to you. This morning I made an arrangement and showed everybody how to make an arrangement. Here it is. And this afternoon I'm going to talk about how you can make sure that your flower growing really is an eco-practice. And I'm really, really interested in finding out. I have a plan, and I've just been talking to the professors who were here earlier, and I am now the external chair of Flowers from the Farm, and we represent all the small-scale flower farmers. Have we got any flower farmers in the room? Any flower farmers? No. Yes, we have a flower farmer, all the best people. I want to find out what kind of an ecological contribution small-scale flower farmers.
Television person, I can't bear the of her voice, so I'm just going to twiddle. Yeah?
Okay, what am I doing?
It's fine. I'm just going to move it out a little bit. Okay, talk to us.
Hello, is that all right? Can you hear me? Okay.
All of us won't be irritated for the next hour.
Okay,
yeah,
because I'm very deaf. I don't hear any of this stuff. Anyway, so I'm really interested in the contribution, the ecological contribution growing flowers puts back into the environment. And the professors who were speaking at the other tent before lunch were talking about how the bees and the invertebrates find your flowers and why there is this extraordinary relationship between, there's an electronic relationship between the flowers that you grow and the pollinators that visit them. and I was absolutely transfixed. So here we have a lovely bouquet, though I say it myself, that I grew myself in my 7-acre plot. Only about half of my plot is cut flowers, so it's about a 3.5 acres put over to the flower farm. But if you took the area that I grow flowers on, it's 1,000 running meters of meter-wide bed. If you shrank it and stuck it all together, it's 1/4 of an acre. So you can all grow 60,000 stems a year on 1/4 of an acre, which is really not an enormous space. So if you'd like to, there is room for a flower farmer in every village in this country. There is a market demanding flower farms in every village. So please don't hold back. Take up flower farming, even in a really small scale way, because the market is there for you. The first thing you need to do if you're thinking about growing flowers for your house is your earth. Obviously, you're going to think about the earth. So look after your earth, and if you're thinking about setting up a cut flower patch or setting up an area for growing flowers, think very hard about the compost that you put on your earth, the mulch, and think very hard about the medium in which you grow, because it is in your gift as flower growers not to cost the environment. It is more important that there is a cosmos flower floating around in the air happily than that you have an easy time sowing, growing, planting out. So step away from the peat-based compost. Step away. It is in your gift. You step away. And people say, but it's difficult, it's complicated, you have to water more, I don't know how to do it. Step away from the peat-based compost. You have to learn. There are different skills, and it's not difficult. I've been a peat-free grower since I started gardening when I moved into my house 20 years ago. So this is all peat-free grown. So that's not bad, is it? That's easy. And Rocket Grow, who are outside here, obviously that's digestate, so that's completely peat-free. There are lots of very good peat-free compost. So try them out, have a go, challenge yourselves to step away from the peat. Your second job as a flower grower is to think really hard about where you source the seed and the plants that you're going to grow. Now, more and more of my colleagues in the flower farming world, I don't do this, but lots of them are becoming seed producers, small-scale seed producers. And this is wonderful news, because if I buy seed from my colleague Rachel at Greener Gorgeous, her seed has been grown in her Oxfordshire field, and it has been pollinated by her Oxfordshire bees and her Oxfordshire wildlife. It is also more resilient to our local climate. So if you buy seed grown by somebody locally, in this area, we've got a lovely little flower farm just started, a flower seed farm just started there down near Bridport. I think they're called Winnow Seeds. They do not pay me to say this, but I think it's such a great idea. And the reason they're growing seed is because buying in seed from around the world means that the seed that we're growing is not so resilient for our own climate. And with climate crises coming at us thick and fast, it's a really good idea to grow locally grown seed. Also, this won't be the same. This is Cineglossum amabile, Chinese forget-me-not, Ms. Marilyn, okay? And it was grown on Rachel's farm in Oxfordshire. It will be ever so slightly different from the Cineglossum amabile that is grown in a field in, I don't know, somewhere else in the world. And by being ever so slightly different, it will give us resilience, and we will be able to keep our Cineglossum amabile going, because there will be somewhere in the world a local seed growing well. So if you can, buy your seed from somebody who's producing seed either in your area or at least in the UK. And it's not easy, and it shrinks the quantity, the numbers of varieties that you might be able to grow. But the more we demand, the more the market will step up to meet us. So I challenge you to find local seed growers, look up British Seed online and see what you can find. That helps your choices. Otherwise, how do you choose what to grow? Incredibly difficult. If you go onto most seed catalogues, never do it on a Sunday evening when it's snowing and you've got half a bottle of wine and a credit card. £300 later, you've bought 400 different kinds of, I don't know, umbellifer, and you haven't got any snapdragons because you've just had a really nice time and the pictures are really great because the light comes through the back and you're just really... So take your time, spend that time. By all means, have the wine. By all means, do the snowy Sunday evening in the winter. But look for locally grown seed and see what you can buy. And I have made a thing. That's my new thing. I think everybody can make a step a year to being more sustainable. So my step for this academic year is I'm growing only seed that was produced in the UK. Not for jingoistic reasons, but because it is more sustainable. So you're going to look at your earth and think twice about what you grow in. You're going to look at your seed and your plants. If you can, order plants or buy plants that have been grown by small nurseries nearby, usually in peat-free compost. Isn't that nice? And if they're not in peat-free compost, ask them about it. Because the more we pressure people, the more people go, oh, well, people really care. Maybe I better think about that. So ask for, be demanding. You're the customer. You're the customer. So buy as much as you can locally grown if you're planting. And then let's think about what you might plant. One of the many things I took away from the talk I went to before lunch by the professors in the other tent was that flowers and plants have different textures. And different invertebrates like different textures to land on. And I wonder what the relationship is also with us and our eyes. When I look at a single bouquet of single variety flowers, I think it's quite boring. All I see is a mass of dahlias. It looks like a sort of squashy mush, for example, if it's a dahlia bouquet. Equally, peonies, a mass of peonies, it looks like a monoculture. Whereas when you've got something like this, you've got everything. It looks like a great free lunch, doesn't it? It looks, for a pollinator, I would think, wow, that's fantastic. So when you're deciding what to grow in your cut flower patch, there is practically nothing that can't be cut. Nearly everything you grow will condition for cutting if you cut early in the morning, when the sun isn't hot on the back of your head, straight into water. The only thing I've never been able to condition, which means stop flopping in water, the only thing I've not been able to condition is acanthus leaves. Everything else, as far as I'm concerned, is fair game. So think about when you're growing, who you're growing for, and why. And let's just go through this bouquet and see what it does for the rest of our environment. Because it is in your gift to do this. It is in your gift to grow cut flowers. Even if you cut a bouquet a day from your cut flower patch, and even if your cut flower patch is smaller than this stage, you will not cut all the flowers. So you will be leaving a quantity for the invertebrates outside. Plus, if you're cutting, so I went and cut this cosmos yesterday, and it was out already yesterday, and it had been out for a day or so. So for 2 days, this cosmos has been feeding the environment with the pollen on it. So I've given it 2 days to the environment, and then I cut it and I bring it here. So I get 2 days, the environment gets 2 days. Fair exchange is no robbery. I think that's a fair thing. I wouldn't have grown the cosmos if I were not going to have a cutting garden. So it really is a good idea. So think about what your plants are going to do and for how long they're going to do it. Really great mix of different kinds of textures. If you look at this, so this is, the cosmos is one kind of flat, easy to land on surface with a bright yellow middle. You can imagine if you're a bee or a hoverfly or a butterfly, you'd see that and go, oh yes, I'll go straight in for the middle there. That's lovely, thank you very much. But equally, this zinnia, if you're looking for tall zinnia varieties to grow, look at the Benares giant varieties. They're lovely and tall. But look at this zinnia, and what happens with them is, they first of all have this lovely yellow middle, which is full of nectar. But as they grow, they produce a cone of more and more and more material, which different kinds of insects enjoy. And if you allow yourself a minute, when you go to your cut flower patch, stand still, stop, and look at your zinnias and see who's visiting. And it's more exciting than you might think. I had one of my favorite things is the tooth and claw thing. And the other day it was my cosmos. There was a ghost spider and it had a fly. And so the come into my parlour saying leapt to my mind. So those are two really good flowers to grow. If you're going to grow dahlias, here is good old blackjack, a great favourite of mine. And here is tartan, another favourite. Tartan is better for pollinators because you can see the middle. But blackjack isn't bad, though, because what blackjack does, all these layers of petals provides cover for people to overnight in. So if you go and look in your dahlia patch in the morning, you might find beautiful, especially at this time of year, you begin to find lovely swinging nets of cobwebs. And the cobwebs will have been put there. And if you then look between the petals of the dahlias, there are spiders, all kinds of spiders. And they're making the most of the people who might be going around and getting their lunch. So don't think I'm only going to grow very open-faced flowers. Somebody like this is plenty cover for somebody who'd like to be able to hide. And we need them all. We need them all. One of the reasons that you might think I'm going to grow roses is that the scent is delicious and they are very beautiful and they're a classic country look and they're very nice. This is a variety called, it's really end of season, so it's quite small. These get enormous. This is Judi Dench. And you'll see what will happen is she opens and opens and opens and opens until she's leaning out like this. And she's got this lovely yellow middle full of pollen. But she also then produces a hip, which people can eat, which is really delicious. But at the beginning of the season, you might find that your roses are absolutely thick with greenfly. Didn't we have an amazing season for greenfly this year? Astonishingly good season for greenfly. Don't take the greenfly off. It is in your gift to leave the greenfly. It is more important for the environment that the greenfly are on the roses than that you have a perfect rose. Leave it. Don't touch them. Don't squirt them with soapy water. People say to me, oh, but I do the eco thing. I squirt them with soapy water. You're like, oh, that's really nice. So that everybody gets, imagine, oh, I'm just going about my business, eating my lunch, and somebody comes along, squirts me, completely covers me in soapy water, and says, but that's the eco option. No, that's horrible. Leave them alone. Leave them alone and watch. If you've ever have plants really covered with greenfly, stand back and watch. And it's not just ladybirds. It's hoverflies, it's small birds. It's all kinds of people rely on that green fly. And if you get rid of the green fly, you've broken, we used to call it a food chain, but of course it's not a chain at all, it's a web. You take the green fly out of the web and the whole thing collapses. It's like you've bored a hole in a fishing net. It's useless. Leave the fishing net whole or even mend it by leaving the green fly and all will be well. So when you find, even at this time of year, sometimes we have a thing called a false spring in the autumn when suddenly it's cool, but there's sun and there's rain and it feels a bit springy. And so you get lots of nice sappy new growth like this one here. This could easily be covered in green fly. Leave it. Leave it. And you will have done a good thing. You can also look to grow flowers that flower really late into the season. So these are quite small heads of sedum. And I do give some of I've got lots of sedum, so I'd give some of it a Chelsea chop. And the Chelsea chops give me the smaller flower heads, which are more useful in floristry. And the bigger ones I leave, partly because, sometimes you go up the garden, if it's weather like this, and the sedum is just a mass of butterflies. It's just amazing. A mass of late season invertebrates. And those ones you leave also, if you look in the winter, go up the field, go up your garden, and just look underneath. And if you look underneath your sedum in the winter, you will find all sorts of people hibernating under there. It's kind of thrilling. And the other place that people like to hibernate is in seed heads. There's a spider crawling up here. So something like, this is your lovely wild Dorcas carota, wild carrot. And I love an umbellifera. I'm always a keen grower of umbellifers, partly because they give me this lovely movement in my floristry. But if I don't cut them all, then they give me this beautiful seed heads, which you can cut. If I cut this now, I can dry it in a dark space, and then I can use it in my Christmas wreath decorations. I can do all sorts of things with it. But if I leave it outside in the garden, again, in the deep midwinter, go and look, and these seed heads will be full of people overwintering, gangs of them, all mushed in together, having a snooze, and in the spring they will come out and make your garden whole again. So don't be too cutty-downy in the winter. Don't be too tidy, because people like somewhere to stay. They need a hotel for the winter. So keep some of your seed heads, so some for me, some for the floristry, and some left in the garden for everybody else. Another lovely thing to grow for you, fantastic cut flower, but I mean, a total favorite of mine, I'm going to pull it out from here, is just love your amaranthus. Because, I mean, how exciting. I just think they're brilliant. I love the movement, I love the colour. They come in all kinds of colours, shapes, sizes. And I've got, this one is hot biscuits. Imagine if you don't cut all of that. In South America, this is a food plant. This is, you make bread out of your amaranth seeds. So imagine how much people love to eat that. So don't cut all of your amaranthus, leave some standing, and it's a bit like having a bird table. You don't need to have a bird table, you just leave your amaranthus. And the birds have got lots and lots. You'll see gangs of goldfinches on your amaranth. Plus its structure, I mean, they're this tall. So structure, style, elegance, and fun things to look at. Before I finish, you can also grow, officially, if it's this time of year and you're beginning to clear beds, if things are finished and you're making space for next year, you're mulching, you're getting ready, if you haven't got time to do anything, direct sow some Phacelia now. And you can sow Phacelia all the way through till Christmas. We're in the southwest of England. We're not, if you're in the northeast, maybe not so much. But here, sow Phacelia where you've got room, and this will be covered in bees. Even on a warm day in the winter, it'll flower. If I sowed it now, it would flower in kind of November. And on a warm day in November, the bees would be all over it. Plus, it's a really fantastic cut flower. It's a lovely blue, that kind of neon lilac. So some for the bees, some for me. I feel I have to wind it up because we're going to have some questions. But one last thing, I will promise you, is we've had a brilliant year for apples, haven't we? And apples are brilliant in cut flowers, absolutely amazing. If you have space, a crabapple tree can be quite a small tree in your garden. So you don't have to have an enormous garden to have a crabapple tree. This year we had the best blossom I've ever seen. Cut it, some of it, and put it in your floristry. Leave some of it, and you'll get some lovely apples. If you're a flower farmer like me, you can sell these at like £5 a stem. Thank you very much. But also, I'm not going to sell all of them. I'm going to put some of them in my own floristry. But when the thrush families come from the north through the winter, this is their feast. And you'll have fieldfare and redwing really flourishing on those. So you've got a whole year's worth of banquet in a vase here, and you've grown it for your own pleasure, for your own table, but imagine what you've given to your environment at the same time. Thank you very much. Got any questions? Silent. Yes, here's somebody. Oh, sorry.
I've got a rose a similar colour to yours, but it's called Pat Austin, and I've had it for quite a long time. But the flowers always seem to be too heavy for the stems, and so or the flowers always flop. If I was to replace it with something like Judi Dench, you said that those flowers get big. Do they stand proud?
A lot of them are quite floppy. The one I would really recommend, if you like that apricot colour, is one called Port Sunlight. Port Sunlight is an unbelievably good but quite upright facing apricot coloured rose. It's sort of deep colour in the middle, and it gets much lighter towards the edge. So it looks as though it's lit up. It's the best. It's not as floriferous, but it is a really fantastic rose. The thing, but if using roses in floristry, if they're really heavy-headed, hook them over other material. So, for example, if we get the old, if we have some nice strong material like this, if this is very floppy and you want to see its face, use something stronger, and when you're making the bouquet, you hook it through, and it makes it face upwards. And then you don't need any wire or any dreaded floral foam. Anybody else?
Hi, Georgie. You're an organic flower farmer. Do you ever use non-organic seed?
I do. I have done in the past. And the reason I've used non-organic seed is because I'm not certified organic. And I have, in the past, I have thought, well, so once it comes through my gate, then it's treated organically. As time goes by, one realises that it's no good taking small steps. Actually, one has to really go the whole hog. And so buying seed from people like Rachel at Green and Gorgeous, I'm not sure that these are organic certified, but I know she's not spraying. She's my colleague and my friend, and I know her growing practices. And so I trust that this is good seed to get. People can have all kinds of opinions about organic certification, and it is so easy to get a derogation that I worry sometimes that organic seed may not be quite as organic as one might think. At the end of the day, the skill is to grow one's own seed, but then it's boring because you just do the same thing again and again and again. So I've never grown Cineglossum, Miss Marilyn, and it's a different colour from my normal. So if I only grew Chinese forget-me-not from my seed, then I wouldn't get a change. So there are a bit swings and roundabouts, but I think if you can get organic flower seed, do it.
Thank you. I was just wondering whether if the seed had been sprayed, it would somehow affect the pollen once the plant had grown.
I think it does. And I definitely, that it's really, really important to avoid seed that's been dipped in. You know when seed turns up and it's kind of green, it's been dipped in some green ink or something, and you think, ooh, I don't know what this is. And it never says on the packet what it is. And I fear it's neonicotinoids. So if anything ever turns up at my house and it's got that horrible colour, it goes in the bin.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Yes. Okay. So the question is there a better time of day to cut flowers so that they don't bring all the bugs into the house? And often it's pollen beetles, isn't it? Those little tiny black beetles. Yeah. So if you cut early in the morning, they may be deep in there, but if you bring flowers into the house, a pollen beetle will go for the light. So bring your flowers, put them somewhere dark, and open the window. And they'll go. But equally, so sometimes my sweet peas are covered in pollen beetles, and I'll give them a sharp shake when I cut. So I'll cut a bunch of 20 or something. I'll give them a good shake, and it really shakes them out. They don't mind. You can be quite tough with them.
Here. Am I on?
Ah, okay.
Yes. You mentioned sowing Felicia now. Unfortunately, I've just been given a packet of Felicia to sow now. What else can I sow now?
So, I am about to sow early, hardy annuals for an early crop. So I'm about to sow sweet peas for next year, and I'm about to sow Ami Majus and Snapdragons, and I always do Lavatera or Lavatera, I never know how to pronounce it. Larkspur's great to overwinter. There are quite a lot of hardy annuals which will overwinter quite well. I do them in my polytunnel, and so beware. We're very wet Somerset clay here. Oh, I don't know what it's clay, but it's wet in Somerset. And so what you'll find with hardy annuals, if you're putting them outside, is they may rot, especially if it's been wet for a while and suddenly there's a drop in the temperature, they'll freeze and then you've lost them. So be aware that you might want to fleece or put little tunnels over things if you're growing outside, which is why I don't really grow hardy annuals over winter outside, because I lose them. So I put them in the polytunnel, and then I have an early crop. Is that helpful? I couldn't see where you were. Oh, there you are. Sorry, I was looking for you. Is that helpful? Any more?
Hi, thanks for the talk. Since you started the flower farm, how has your planting scheme changed, if at all?
I grow fewer varieties. I still grow a fairly, it's a polyculture, as you can see, but I don't grow quite as many as I used to. And things that don't really sing or are fiddly to cut, I drop. So I don't grow clary sage anymore. Because it wasn't valuable enough. The awful thing is I'm trying to earn a living. So there are lots of things that I could grow which I don't because they're not valuable enough. I don't grow cornflowers because they go over too quickly and they're fiddly to cut. So there's a combination of going over quickly, perceived value, I'm not going to grow them, and fiddly to cut. So obviously roses are fiddly to cut, but they're worth $2.50 a stem, so that's worth the time and the energy. Whereas cornflowers are never going to be worth $2.50 a stem. So, bye. But then I grow lost leaders too. There are things in here which I'm not sure would really make me a fortune if I sold many of them. And so I only have a little patch. So these red penstemons, garnet, I don't think anybody's going to buy these by the bunch, but they don't know how brilliant they are in a mixed bouquet. So I keep them and I put them in my work. And I literally have at the end of one bed, I've got a little patch of them, and they're mine.
Hello, I'm looking for a possibly foliage shrub that I can put in a semi-shade. Gets quite a lot of sun in the summer, like this summer, but it's also shady. I can't remember the name of the lovely
Physocarpus. This one.
What is it again? Phytocarpus.
This is Physocarpus Diablo.
Yeah, okay.
And it would love that, so long as it's not too dry underfoot.
No, it should be okay.
It likes this likes quite rich soil and will sulk and really sulk if it's hot and dry. Okay. If it's dry, it doesn't like it.
Okay. It's sort of about four maximum 5 foot height in terms of space and
they'll get as big as you let them. They can get really big. If they like it, they'll shoot really long stems. But you can be quite ruthless with them. But the other thing that I really love, I think this is an absolutely brilliant. This is wild cornus. I'm not going to take it out because it'll pull everything out. But or maybe I can. Here we are. Ah, yes. So this is wild cornus, really bog standard. Where have you gone? Here, sorry. Really, really bog standard. In the spring, the leaves are purple as they come out. They have white flowers. They cut really nicely. And now look at this. They're going this lovely rusty colour. I think this is a brilliant hedging plant. It would be really attractive on its own. Berries are interesting. The white flowers in the summer are interesting. I think this is, yeah, really, and it's incredibly good for wildlife. They love it. So I think this is just a wild hedging plant. Cheap as chips too.
Hello. Can you suggest how I can overwinter my dahlia? Because we have heavy soil here. I've lifted them and I've washed them and dried them and kept them in a nice box of sawdust, and they just haven't plant out the next year and they just don't do.
Do they rot, or do they just not feel great?
They looked okay. The tubers looked okay.
They feel nice and hard?
There were a few rotted ones which I took out, but some of them looked okay, but they just haven't grown.
Okay, so dahlias are a big thing. I suspect that you've done a bit much to them, unless you're growing dahlias commercially, and you've just got a cut flower patch worth of them. When I lift my dahlias, so you'll have the tuber maybe this big, and it's covered in earth. Mm-hmm. Don't take the earth off.
Oh, okay.
So put them somewhere, so lift them, put them somewhere to dry for 2 weeks.
With all the wet soil on them?
With the wet soil on them. Put them somewhere dry for a couple of weeks, and they'll just slowly dry out. Then put them in open side, so I put them in bale arm trays. They've got holes in, but you could put them in any kind of crate that you can find and put them up, so cut off most of their stems, so just leave a little bit, turn them upside down, earth still on them, and you can pack about 6 to 8 in a tray. You can then stack the trays. You put the tray off the ground. It's really important that the air can circulate, and you put the tray away from the wall. Really important that the air circulates. You can then cover with maybe a sheet, or we don't get that cold, so you just want to keep them frost-free. So put them in the frost-free shed somewhere dark. You will have to protect from the mice somehow. I can't suggest how, but you will have to protect them from the mice. And through the winter, so long as they're airy, and what happens is the earth dries away from the tuber, and all the moisture goes into the earth. So the tubers stay really strong. They feel like really strong, good potatoes. Mm-hmm. Then you should be all right in the spring when you get them out. Then you can knock off the earth, turn them upside down, split them, propagate however you're going to do that, pot them up, and they should do well for you.
I think I was washing mine because they get slugs or worms sometimes in a
Doesn't matter. The slugs, they'll be fine. Don't wash them. I think washing dahlias is a really bad idea unless you're going to split them and sell them. I just think you're asking for mold. You're asking for trouble.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Good luck. More questions? Any more questions? Yes.
Are you switching more to perennial flowers rather than...
Yeah, I love this question. I am doing more perennials. I've always done quite a lot of perennials. The question is, am I doing more perennials than annuals? And I am doing lots of perennials, and I am doing lots of shrubs, and I have about 200 roses. I don't grow them all in one place. I split them so it's not a monoculture, so that if this lot over here have aphids, this lot don't. And a lot of flower farmers are talking about going much more into perennials. I watch us all. I'm fascinated by flower farming and how flower farming works. And we're all growing just as many annuals as ever. And you know why? Because it's really good fun. It's really fun. And for not very much money and not much investment. And actually, if we lose them, it's not the end of the world. And the difference, you know, if you're buying perennials, even if you're buying wholesale, you're still paying, £5, £6 a plant. So it's a big investment. And then you've got to wait 2 or 3 years until they're really producing, and they take up a lot of space all year round, and all of that. Whereas this Cineglossum amabile Miss Marilyn will go in a seed tray, probably next week, and give me beautiful, pale, lavender blue flowers in the spring. And what fun. So it's a way of, I think the reason we grow annuals is it's like, so you have your basic garden, and then you can completely redecorate it. It's like, you know how you can completely redecorate your bedroom by buying a new duvet cover? That's what growing annuals is. It's like you get a completely new garden for the sake of 2 or 3 packets of seeds. So, I don't think I'm ever going to stop growing annuals.
Just right in front of you.
Sorry, beg your pardon.
You don't really need the microphone, but I was wondering, presumably you don't use those little sachets of flower food.
No.
Which are I just wish they'd stop putting them in and just tell us what you put in your water. It can't be, is it some like diorite solution? Nothing?
Nothing.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so flower
that was
food.
A quick question.
Flower food is a really good question. If you're offered flower food by a florist, feel free to give it back and say, no, thanks, I don't need it. Because there's nothing on the packet to tell you what's in it, so you don't know what you're putting into the water and what is then going to go down the drain. You don't know it could be anything. It is, in fact, mostly, it'll be Milton sterilising powder, some kind of bleach, vitamin C powder, and sugar. So the sugar will feed the flower to make it look well, but the sugar will also make the water dirty so that the bacteria builds up more quickly and the flower dies more quickly. So for a minute it'll look great and then it dies. The bleach will keep the water clean while the bacteria builds up so that you don't see the bacteria building up. But if you then knock the vase over and it's on your mum's lovely bit of shiny brown furniture that you inherited, or over your nice party dress, you've ruined it because there was bleach in the water. And vitamin C powder is just there to balance the pH. I would recommend, and what I say to my clients is, if you have a lovely bunch of flowers like this, have 2 vases. This is a very cheap vase. This is Morrison's. I think it costs about £8. So you could have 2 £8 vases, and between uses, you put them through the dishwasher. And then the next day, you take this bouquet that you've made out, you snip the stems to reopen the cellulose drinking cells, and you put them into a clean vase and clean water. And they will last much, much longer than anything that has a little sachet of Milton sterilising powder, sugar, and vitamin C powder in it. It's just a waste of, it's a little tiny sachet of single-use plastic. It's a waste. It's just sort of completely pointless to put that stuff in your water. So I recommend you don't. Is that helpful?
Yes, thank you. Never. I've even got a drawer. Sam, I've even got a drawer, and I've studiously kept those little sachets, thinking I was doing a really good job. You still can't hear me. Yeah. So I've got a drawer with them in, and I thought I was being really conscientious by anyway, clearly not. Will you join me in giving this gorgeous woman a round of applause?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.